To say that the face of Ghana football is changing. Over the last maybe 20 years, a league race is no longer one typically between Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko. We've had Brekum Chelsea. We've had Aduana Mediama has done a remarkable job of upsetting the apple pie. These days, the mid-range clubs, for want of a better word, are just no longer just a production base for Hearts and Kotoko. They've become powerhouses of their own, which feeds into the story of the just ended Ghana Premier League. Samartex SC, in just their second season in the top flight, have earned the right to represent Ghana in the African Champions League. But even more than that, we saw the beautiful scenes of people in the Samurai Boy community enjoying the triumph of the league, old women, young and old members of the community. We told you a story about one player who grew up in one of the communities, basically a community-based club that has managed to combine caring for the community with finding sporting success along the line. The man responsible for that is Mr. Richard Nsenkyire, president of the club. I'm just wondering, have you finished celebrating the triumph?
Oh, I cannot. You know, Jose Mourinho once said, I remember when he won the Champions League with FC Porto, and then he came to Chelsea. And then he says, until there is a next champion, I'm still the champion. So until there is the next Ghana Premier League leader, I still have to enjoy. And it's the first time, so let me enjoy it whilst it lasts.
I need you to put it within maybe a bit more relatable context for me. How big a deal was this for the community, you think?
I have to be very frank. I can't even express it in words. The community is still in shock. People still don't even believe that we've won the Premier League. In the first place, imagine such a community getting a Premier League club to play there. That is already awesome. Coupled with the fact that we are not just participating, but we've been able to win the ultimate. So I'm telling you, for the entire community of Wasa Memfi, being the elderly, the middle-aged women and men, the children, they are still in shock.
There's a certain sense when you focus on the whether Accra-based, Kumasi-based media, there is a sense that maybe the Ghana Premier League doesn't carry the same luster and the same prestige as it used to. Do you get that sense? I watched the videos from the community and I got a sense of something that means a lot more. It almost seemed to me as if you dropped Barcelona in the middle of that, the community would still prefer to watch Samartex.
I can tell you exactly the same. For us, every home game that we play in Samurai Boy is like a final match. What I mean is the feeling, the emotions, which is at display, it's the same. Because we've gone hunger, drought, without any Premier League football in Wasa Memfi. In fact, the elderly says that since they grew up in the history of Wasa Memfi, there hasn't been any Premier League club. So this is the first of its kind. So for us, every match is like a final match. Every match, everybody goes in with the same emotions, with the same preparation and everything. So I can tell you that for us, there is nothing like an ordinary match. There is nothing like only Hearts or Kotoko coming to us. Our stadiums are full every Saturday or Sunday that we play a home match.
Why do you think that is, though? Is it because maybe this is one of the few things that makes the people feel a lot more connected to the bigger national issues and conversations?
I would say it's just the absence. Basically, when you look at this community, cocoa is the biggest industry. And then you can talk about Samartex, wood processing, and there are also some mining companies around. So for us, football is something much more than recreation. It is the only source of entertainment for the people within this area. Coupled with the fact that the next premier clubs are about 150 kilometers away when you take Mediama and then Gold Stars. They are quite far away from us, and they are also in different municipalities. So when you take the whole catchment area of Samartex Football Club, it stretches up to Awin Siaman, which is another big municipality. Then it comes to Wasa Memfi, which is also Amenfi West, Amenfi East, Amenfi Central. So all these places are quite big when you take the whole constituency. So we have much more people coming to patronize our matches as compared to the other clubs.
I've had a full geography lesson from
Yes.
that. I think you yourself said you once you're champion, then you start thinking of the next step. What is the next step for you? I think the inevitable question that we jump straight into before we go back into the conversations is, would you play in Africa?
Michael, I have to be very frank. The project is still continuing. People do ask me a lot about when is the next step, but it was always a 5-year development project. So it is work in progress. For the Premier, clinching the ultimate trophy was something which was planned, but it happened, I would say, too early. So we are still doing work in progress. And in terms of infrastructure, in terms of our recruitment, in terms of making sure that we're able to improve upon the whole football logistics within our club, that is still ongoing. We are going to play in Africa for sure. I can assure you that we are going to play in Africa, definitely.
Then you have to make a decision where you play, the local politics of whether you go to Takwa or whether you play in Accra. That won't be an easy decision, would it be?
It's not going to be an easy decision, but football is governed by regulations. And I always say is that there are times that you wish that things come to you easily. Whether we play in Samartex, whether we are going to play in Takwa or whatever, will depend on the licensing committee. But I want to assure you that Samartex Football Club has come to stay. Samartex Football Club is coming to join the elite teams like the Kotokos, the Haas, the Midiames, whatever you can think of. So we have come to stay, not only in Samartex, we have come to stay in Ghana. Many a times, people ask me these questions, but I say, look, you still support Liverpool without going to Liverpool to watch a match. You still support Chelsea. Yeah. It is very close to your heart without going to London to go and watch Chelsea. So irrespective of where we are going to play, once we want Samartex Football Club to become an international club, our supporters should be getting ready that we can play everywhere. We can play in Samartex, we can play in Enche, we can play. We are an international team now, so we should be able to play our football matches everywhere. And I expect everybody to follow the team as to wherever we are going to play.
There's something you said that I want to pick up on. You mentioned being here to stay. And I did mention how the trajectory of clubs challenging Hearts and Kotoko has changed. But also, unfortunately, there is a trajectory of, 2, 3, 4, 5 years up, and then, a descent into oblivion afterwards.
That's true.
Become Chelsea, Liberty Professionals is in the O division now. What's your commitment to the people of Samartex that this thing that's giving them so much joy will not be temporary?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. I have to be. Life itself is a vicious cycle, and you can always have a sinusoidal. I mean, you'll be up and then you'll be down, which I believe that is what everybody goes through and every institution goes through. Nobody stays on top forever. Yeah. But to assure the sustainability of this project, I can tell you, we have started with a Samartex count, where we are registering every supporter of this club up to family level. So if you take me, for instance, if I'm a diamond holder or a member of this club, it is going to extend to my unborn generations. My card will be used by my family and their unborn generation. Something that I want to do to make sure that the people own the club. Because you see, many a times, depending on the structure, the corporate structure that you want to use, or the kind of corporate governance that you want to use, you apply the right policy. So in our case, we want the people to own the club. So it's got nothing to do about me. Whether I live or die, the club policy will continue. We are building long, medium-term structures to make sure that in terms of sustainability, it rather goes up than coming down.
But you know that you need the money. You mentioned Chelsea and Mourinho and the rest.
Yes.
You just don't need the money. You need a sugar daddy who is willing to put that in.
Exactly.
Will Samartex survive beyond the financial resources that you personally provide?
At the moment, the company owes the team 100%. But I have to tell you, if you look at the structures we are putting in place, we don't want to build the football club only around the company. Because we've seen also in the history of Ghana football where companies are attached to teams, and immediately the company goes down, the team collapses. So we've thought beyond that, and that is why we are putting in structures. We are building partnerships with other foreign institutions who can help us to sustain this project. Because there is one goal about this. We don't just see it as forming a football team, but when you look at the whole structure, socio-economic structure in Samaraboi, it is basically an agriculture community. Then you have timber, then you have gold. It is also part of our diversification process. So when you are diversifying, you put so many resources into place to make sure that it is able to be, you're able to sustain it. So it is part of the company's diversification process. And I'm sure we will definitely succeed. Not with our own intentions, but with the support of the people.
One of the things that few things that I've learned in management is this talk of benchmarking. What are you benchmarking Samartex against? Is it a Man City? Is it an Arsenal model? Are you thinking of Mamelodi Sundowns, which sprang off all the gold resources, or you have your own unique plan, unique to the community?
Michael, I have to be very frank. It's a combination of all the good things which are happening in world football. So there are some things which works in Man City which will not work within our local context. There are some things which works with Mamelodi Sundowns which will not work in Ghana. So it's a combination of our own identity. We are building our own brand by the combination of all the good things from a Man City, from an Al Ahly, from a Zamalek that we are putting together to build our own style of football. And that is why I said it's a 5 years project.
When I was growing up, one of the first things I learned was her smile and what the great Akademi did in the late 70s and the rest. Do you feel like you've got a commitment to the Western region to sort of keep it at a certain level? Hazakes is no longer there. 11 Wise is absent. Midiama is doing a great job, but it's always been better when there's been a double thing. Is this also almost a commitment to the good old best what comes from the West mantra?
I would say yes. Western region in general has been notified as the hub of our natural resources. And then when you come to tourism, Western region is doing very well. So as part of diversifying the whole Western region's economy, football should also come back. I'm not only thinking about the benefits to the club, I'm also thinking about the benefits to the people in the whole football industry. When you see the whole supply chain, hotels are full within this area during match days, restaurants are full, pubs are full. You can come to Samaraboi. One time the people were telling me, the market woman approached me and said, if you had given us direct money, we wouldn't have been very happy. But when we see the whole our sales champion quadrupling during market days and prior to market days, it is much more than enough. So I believe that in as much as the prize money, which is the ultimate money, which should go even to the players, is small, I believe that it is still worth to follow such things.
And you didn't get maybe enough television exposure because of all these economics of production, where a television company has to think almost excessively about moving its cameras and the distance of travel. Is that something you would want change? Because you're defending champions, your stadiums are full every time, and you may want a bit more exposure, because that also really affects how far and wide the name goes.
No, absolutely. It's about TV rights and all these things. I think it's something that we want to pursue. We have our own media company. I mean, the company Samartex has its own media company. But, we are not trained to handle such matches or to handle such coverage. So definitely it's something that we want to do, because the kind of brand we want to establish, definitely we need to be out there. We can't do everything in Samaraboi. We need to reach out. Football is a worldly affair. Yeah. Everybody.
And television grows football.
Exactly. So definitely something that we want to pursue, so that we can get much more TV rights from these companies.
You don't do the football side, but are there any any sporting decisions that you would want people like Akai and the rest to take in order to take the team to the immediate next level?
Sporting decisions, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely we have to strengthen our recruitment. You know, football is now about age. The game is becoming so pacey that you need to catch them very young. So definitely we want to strengthen our scouting department. We want to improve upon the whole technology in the football. There are certain logistics that we need. We have to improve upon our pitches. As I'm talking to you now, we have only 3 pitches, which I think is not enough. So because we have our women's football team as well, and then we are going to start with our second team who are going to play competitive matches as well. So we really want to make sure that in terms of infrastructure, technology, making sure that we provide the right logistics for the boys to play on. Those decisions must still go on, and I expect that it follows.
The overall Ghana Premier League, what was your impression about it? There was a lot of talk about refereeing and the rest, and everybody who's put money into this league sometimes comes back to talk about how things are not set up in a manner that allows for the investor to get the most out of it. Were you happy with the overall organization, the officiating and everything that happened in the league?
I would say it might not be the best, but in the current circumstances where we find ourselves, I think it's still okay. There is more room for improvement, I have to be very frank. But it's all work in progress, I would say so. I mean, when you look at the English Premier League or other leagues, they didn't start as we started. But then when you look at the logistics available for the FA and the kind of support that they have, I think it's okay. We are not up there, but I believe that when we have much more sponsors, we will get to the level that is much more supposed to decide.
What will be the target for you in the African Champions League?
Definitely to get to the money stage, the qualifying stage, yes.
That's everybody's goal.
Exactly.
That's a lot of work.
It is, and we have to work. We are ready for it.
Everybody who comes into Ghana football, talks about an overemphasis on what the GFA does with the national teams and what it doesn't do with the club side. What is the one thing you think the GFA can do to improve the lot of the clubs?
I think it's just to have frequent interventions or frequent interactions to make sure that apart from the ESCO, the leadership of the clubs are also part of daily decision making or weekly or periodic decision making. I think when we have much more interactions, those who are not even part of the decision making can make certain suggestions. Currently, from the way I see it, till there is a congress or there is a big meeting, people don't have the opportunity to share their ideas with the hierarchy of the FA. So I think definitely they should reach out much more to the club ownership.
Isn't this something that those of you who are putting your money in should work towards strengthening a league clubs association like you've got in England, the European, the clubs, and constantly say, because too many people feel that those of you who put your money in are not demanding enough. So for instance, this TV issue, access to interviews and that sort of thing. Isn't it over time club officials became, club owners and investors became a bit more upfront about the things that you wanted from them?
Definitely. And, when I hear about the FA, I always ask myself one question: who is the FA? We all make up of the FA.
Yeah.
We have only gone to select a leadership.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is to work closely with this leadership. And we have to do it. It is not just about our investment. It is also about the beauty of the whole Ghana Premier League and to run things in a much more professional way as our counterparts are doing in other countries. So definitely we need to have much more engagement with the FA leadership. I would say on periodic basis and not just after a season to have a congress or to have an ESCO meeting. So I think there has to be much more personal engagement and we need to do more, especially the club owners.
The other thing that I wanted to ask, I hear about a lot of welfare packages for your players, but I also know that this is a league where the remuneration means that you literally need a policy of selling constantly to survive. What's your position whether you transfer players outside or not?
Absolutely. Like I said in my earlier response, football is played everywhere in the world. And I always want to give my players opportunity, first to play in Ghana, to play in Africa, and to play everywhere outside Ghana. So I really support this transfer policy. But what I believe is the person should go at the right time. What I mean is I don't believe in this whole mass transfer of players after a season. I believe that a player has to get to a certain winning level. Because when you leave the shores of this country and you don't go and play and bring a trophy, then it means that you are only going for the money. But I think that when players leave this country, they should come back and play for our national team. So they should be champions. So they have to get to a certain level where they are champions to win you a trophy. Then they can come and join our Black Stars or any of our national teams. So I support that very much.
Are you thinking of any external collaborations?
I'm thinking of that. Currently, as I'm talking to you, I'm into talks with other premier clubs outside Ghana, especially in Europe. I'm into talks with other clubs which are also in Africa, but we haven't finalized any of these deals. But I'm into such discussions.
A few set of questions before we wrap up. What for you was the best game of the season that Samartex played in the just ended campaign?
The last game.
Why? Was it because Stoneboy was there?
No. Unfortunately, Stoneboy didn't even come to the stadium.
Yeah.
Because we were playing with one of the best sides in the league, which I enjoyed their style of playing. I have to be very frank. Accra Lions. And they are, I think, the most youthful side.
Yeah.
I enjoyed their style of playing. Yeah. And I was happy that at the last day, when I'm so happy to win the cup, I'm playing with one of the best teams. And they were also second.
Yeah.
So I believe that they are one of the best clubs. I'd always admired their style of play, and I was happy that I was playing them my 34th game as the last game.
What was it about that day that gave you the most joy, that gave you the most satisfaction?
It is when I saw these players putting the gold medal on their necks. For me, it was my most happiest time. And again, when I looked at the crowd, the supporters, how happy they were, especially when the second goal came. I felt like this was the most happiest time in my life.
You mentioned Jose Mourinho. I guess you're a big fan.
Oh yes, why? I like watching football, good football. I like watching good coaches. I have to be very frank. I have my own players that I like their style of play. So that is fine.
Who's your favorite?
I don't want to share it now. Is it in Ghana or outside Ghana?
No, your favorite player.
I would say I have a varied set of players. Yeah. Is it an attacker, a midfielder, a goalkeeper? So in every section of the game I have.
Who is the best defender you've seen play football? Because you seem to have been around a fair bit.
The best defender is Roberto Carlos. Yes, I've always admired him as one of the best defenders. Yes.
And the best midfielder you've seen, the best holding midfielder you've seen?
I would say has always been Kevin De Bruyne.
You love his forward play?
I like his forward play, his offensive, his incisive passes. I would do anything for him every day.
Maybe one day you bring him to come.
You never know.
Have one or two words with
you
him.
never know.
Who is the best defensive midfielder that you've seen?
I think one of the best is in my league. I have a lot of defensive midfielders. You have to talk about Kirk, Sidi Dauda. These are all very good guys. Desmond and all these guys. In the local league, I can't talk about any than my own. Yeah. These are players who are really, really good.
The best striker that you've seen play football?
The best striker. It's a nice question. I've always liked wingers who are scoring goals.
You're a Ronaldo fan.
Thank you. So you can know where I stand. I've always admired Cristiano Ronaldo. I like wingers, who bring in balls from outside to enter into the box. I'm always never been a fan of a typical number 9 because I always believe they are just tapping players. I believe in a player who is working his way out into the box to go and score.
I asked you these questions because I wanted to sort of gauge how much you like football, and it seems to me that this is a sport that you're deeply engraved in. Is it the sport for the club that led you to Samartex, or is the love for the community that led you to football?
I would say it's the passion for football. Naturally, I've always liked football from my infancy. I never played football to any level apart from school. When you have inter-houses, you might play football, but not to any highest level. But I have a deep passion for the game. I love football.
Well, the people of Samartex are lucky to have you. Then all the best with it. Good luck with the Champions League campaign. Anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
I'm just calling on the citizens of this country to put an eye on Samartex FC. We are not playing only for the people of Samra neither are we playing for the people of Western region. We are representing Ghana, and I want everybody to support us in whatever way. It can be in prayers, it can be financial support, it can be moral support, it can be counseling, it can be any logistics that they want to offer to the team. I'm just calling on everybody to support FC Samartex.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.